I'd like to thank everyone for joining in today's session. Our topic today would be getting started with UiPath Agent itself, and I think this is one of the key topics that I really like talking about because it gives us more information about what's coming with agentic automation and how we're actually able to leverage UiPath's capability to be able to build a holistic approach on complex processes. Before we start, I'd like to welcome Ash. Ash, thank you so much for hosting this session with us, and we're very much looking forward to hearing from you and learning from you as well on this session. Just a quick introduction for those who uh, uh, for those people who just joined this session. Yeah, my name is Sean. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and I work for Ingram Micro. And I'm a solutions architect handling UiPath within Ingram Micro itself, and I'm a UiPath MVP. Ash, I'll let you introduce yourself. You have such great experience, so yeah, not be giving you justice if I would introduce you like that. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
It seems like you're upselling me a lot. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for that introduction and welcome. Welcome to the session, everyone. I'm Ash. I work in Sydney and I've been working in the UiPath software space and UiPath community for the last 8-9 years. And that's also as how long I've been working in the robotic process automation space. Recently, I've put myself on a quest to learn and master AI and agentic AI as much as possible. So this is part of that effort as well. So I'm really glad that all of you are keen and have joined this session and the next one. So hopefully we'll be able to give you quite a lot of information to get you started on your agentic journey if you haven't already. And I have been trying a few different things with agents, and I would like to share some of those with you today. So I'm really looking to have a really great session. Please save your questions, and then we will have, of course, some time at the end of the session. So let's make it a success. Thanks. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you so much, Ash. So, what's currently our agenda, right? So, we have quite a number of things to cover, and most importantly, we would definitely be covering agents. But just before that, we wanted to talk about a little bit of history about UiPath itself, about Act 1 and Act 2. We'll be talking about basic concepts of agents itself and benefits on using UiPath together with agents. And then Ash will be talking about or giving us more information about how you will build your agents in UiPath Studio Web, the demo, as well as he has something special with regard to running agents prepared for us, and will be showing that to us in the later part of the session. And then afterwards, he'll be passing back to me just to show you about documentation on governance, data residency, and limitations that UiPath has. And of course, we'll answer your questions as well. Without further ado, let's start about Act 1 and Act 2. This is something that UiPath has been showing in their marketing materials the past few months, right? But when we talk about Act 1 in general, this just talks about the first 10 years of UiPath being around UiPath itself, right? So way back when I started using UiPath in 2017, and of course it goes beyond that, right? It became an established RPA solution, right? An automation that started just with Robot Studio and Orchestrator, and eventually becoming a leader in document processing with document understanding, eventually making a use of integrations with other technologies as well. Computer vision using OCR, their proprietary, they eventually came out with their own OCR solution as well. And then comes human in the loop together with document understanding and action center. So all of this was part of Act 1, eventually UiPath becoming a business automation platform. But we all know that in this day of age, UiPath is not just an RPA platform. It's not just a business automation platform itself, but it's becoming an agentic solution or agentic platform for organizations to be able to use. So this is the journey that UiPath took way back in the days, right? So as I mentioned, RPA, computer vision, 2018, we were solely focused on user interface automation, prioritizing using UI automation before OCR and other things. Eventually, we started creating low code applications, API based automation with integration service, being able to create connectors to be able to make more efficient automation as well. And UiPath progress towards process mining and other discovery tools, and also having automation hub available for users to be able to have a bottom to top approach when performing like process selection and process analysis. In 2022, UiPath procured a company, Reinfer, to be able to be added to their intelligent document processing solution, which where we introduced communications mining as well. And then suddenly generative AI came out, where we're able to leverage generative AI to be able to understand the requirements of individuals, to be able to use it further with document understanding with Compat and DocPath. And 2024 came in, they progressed the AI activities. And then now 2025, we are actually connecting robots and people with agents itself. And this is where Act 2 begins. So in Act 1, we're just talking about Ask robots, user interface automation, and low code solution. With Act 2, we're talking about connecting all of these things together, performing process orchestration, using agents to be able to perform complex tasks, to be able to perform non-deterministic tasks as well, be able to use APIs fully within our automation, and have coded agents as well together with our solution. So overall, uh, UiPath is becoming an agentic automation platform. But besides this agentic automated platform solution where we have process workflows and activities, we need to have a secure platform, right? A platform that we can trust, a platform that we can trust our data with. And this is what UiPath provides us. It provides us with security and governance with the AI trust layer. We're able to perform data and API integration as well. Our solution will be leveraging context from our own organization and not just coming out from within the web. So we have those things have been catered for by UiPath. And of course, still comes the low code and pro code solution. So this is just a quick summary of where we were and where we are now. Now, I wanted to talk about the concepts of agents. I know when we talk about agents, sometimes it's still a little bit confusing of what does it really do, right? What is the difference of agents between robots and agents itself? So this slide has been around the past few months as well, and UiPath causes the left brain and the right brain, where the left brain is the one that is actually very much structured logic, very much logical and following specific rules. Whereas when we talk about the right side of things, or the agent side of things, this would be the creative one, the one that is able to have the ability to think creatively, be able to understand and make decisions and learn from outcomes and be able to adapt and improve over time. So this is what robots and agents are actually being considered when we talked about the left brain and right brain approach. Right? So robots and agents were able to combine their strengths to deliver the best of both worlds in our solution itself. In our workflow, and this is where I think I wanted to emphasize that robots are still there, right? So robots won't be replaced by agents. Robots will still be able to continue to work with us, be able to efficiently perform our tasks and duties as well, right? So robots are still there. Robots are always going to be working with us in our automation solution, right? When we talk about the workflow itself, as I mentioned, robots are the ones that are doing very well, very efficient, and these are the ones that follow rules, executes tasks, and this is basically the left side of the brain. When we talk about agents itself, we are talking about goals here. We're telling the agent, this is your goal, this is what you need to achieve, and the agents will actually try to define and understand ways on how they will be achieving that approach. Doesn't follow a strict plan. It acts independently, and they try to achieve the goal that you set up. Eventually, the point of an agent is that you give it goals. You're not giving it a task itself. You're not giving just one task to do. You're giving it a whole requirement, and it will it will make use of smaller tasks to be able to achieve that requirement, be able to achieve that. And they act independently and take dynamic decisions. So when we talk about like robots and agents further, right? UiPath robots, they are very much reliable, right? The level of agency is very low. Robots are actually procedurally oriented. They are coded to perform specific actions. When we talk about agents itself, right? Agent has high level of agency, but you do lose some reliability. So it's where the robots would come in. And yeah, I didn't misphrase that. So robots can do a few things, but so since it is not deterministic, it will not follow you exactly how you want it to do. Because agents are actually driven by natural language, and they're actually thus it makes the building robots a little bit difficult because it follows it. So if you misphrase something, if you don't use the correct wording, or you don't do proper prompt engineering itself, this can actually cause your agents to not do it the same way as you expected, right? And this is quite something that is really important. So that's why engineering and context is really important, right? So in certain situations as well, if you would want to, for example, get an HR procedure, so if you ask about parental leave policies or like benefits, like work from home benefits of organizations, if you in a standard agent, autonomous agent, it might just get something from the web. And this is where we actually have an enterprise agent within UiPath itself. You are putting it in a controlled environment. You're putting context on the agent itself so that the agent will know exactly where to get the data, where to get information that it will be giving you. So it's called a controlled agency itself. So with UiPath itself, we call them as an enterprise agent. And this is the mechanism that we are building to be able to have that controlled agency in place. You don't just want the agent itself, you want agents that you can trust. You want agents that will be following based on your organization's requirement. So I've spoken a lot about things there, but what are agents really, right? So when we talk about agents, when someone asks you about agents, right? Agents are advanced robots. In the UiPath training, it says they're still robots, but yeah, agents are advanced robots that make use of LLMs, that make use of machine learning model to be able to plan, act, and learn, as well as adapt, to be able to perform its goal. Whereas when we talk about robots, we tell the robots, this is what you should do. These are the next steps that you should do. So it's not really adapting to the environment itself. Whereas the agents will make decisions based on the patterns and live data that they actually receive. Agents are designed to be able to operate in dynamic, undeterministic environments, and they are also made context aware based on context grounding to be able to operate their goals. And the good thing is they can communicate as well with you in a natural language, able to plan their steps and make independent decisions out of those, to, as well as be able to escalate to a human when needed. And this brings a new model to our automation to be able to have robust solutions. I just wanted to quickly talk about the agent capabilities, right? So when we talk about agent capabilities within the UiPath perspective, we actually have a comprehensive platform for orchestrating and managing a wide range of agents. This is good thing is this is regardless of their origin and runtime environment. So within UiPath itself, you actually have different types of agents. You have a system agent, which is the UiPath autopilot itself, and the healing agent that allows you to be able uh, to recover from broken workflows. And we can have another session about healing agents itself. We also have the UiPath build agent, and this is what the ones that we are actually focusing on today. This is what Ash will be demoing as well. Build agents are the ones that you use with that you create with Agent Builder in Studio Web. Right? This is a UiPath low code development solution that enables you to be able to create powerful agents with minimal coding expertise as well. And what What this provides you would be the speed and ease of deployment, allowing you to be able to create quick agent creation, be able to create a platform within the UiPath platform, be able to uh, integrate it with Orchestrator, be able to integrate it with other applications, to be able to be managed, scheduled, and monitored by the orchestrator as well, and be able to make use of other UiPath resources such as activities, other agents, apps, tasks, and Maestro for business process orchestration. We also have coded agents. So what are coded agents? They are developed by coding experts using UiPath SDKs within their preferred IDE, and developers can actually then package this and publish these coded agents to the UiPath ecosystem itself, where they can run in automation cloud with using automation cloud robots, using serverless infrastructures. Lastly, we have external agents. And external agents are agents that are created using other solutions as well. So you're able to actually invoke these agents using UiPath as well to actually be able to have an integration with this other agent itself. I've spoken a lot, just a few more slides from me, and then we have showing us the demo itself. I just wanted to quickly talk about the agent component, right? So when we talk about components, and Ash will show you this one, there are four primary agent components. One would be prompt, how you're actually giving the instructions to the agent itself. Here, you're defining the agent's role, you're telling him its goal and the constraints, and you can also tell what to do if certain things happen as well. Context. So this is where we ground the agent to be able to use certain like procedures only, be able to use as its knowledge base, and be able to give you only what you need based on a specific context itself. We also have tools, right? And tools would be our automation solutions, our robots running in the process. So it can be APIs, it can be microservices being triggered, right? Or you can collaborate with other agents as well, be even built on another solution. So this would be tools, and of course escalation paths. So this is where human in the loop comes in, and human in the loop has been it's played a very crucial role with our automation initiatives ever since, from document understanding, right? So you can have escalations with human in the loop through apps with agent itself. Some key agent capabilities, they're very much communicative. They use natural language to collaborate with users and systems. Initiating, it can be triggered by system events or user input. Planning, it actually when you run an agent, it actually breaks down the goals into executable steps. So you'll be able to see that when you run an agent, right? What steps it would be taking. And then afterwards, of course, it will decide. It will make real-time decision based on patterns and current state. It's able to adapt to us. It assesses and responds to live enterprise data. I was talking about healing agents earlier. Right? So healing agents is one of the newly launched capabilities of UiPath, where it detects and recovers from broken workflows and helps you be able to run that smoothly. It's also learning, where it actually retains memory as well from previous sessions and improves over time. And lastly, where it actually works alongside with other agents, robots, and of course people. So what are the key benefits? And I'm tackling this question with regard to why UiPath agents, right? Why UiPath agentic automation, right? So there's a few things when we talk about key differentiators of agentic solution within UiPath, right? First one would be enterprise rules, right? So within UiPath itself, you have an enterprise solution. You have best-in-class UI automation. You're able to perform document processing, API connect. You have API connectors across the industry. You also have human in the loop, where you can actually build it into agents as part of the escalation point. Another one would be, it is very much low. You're able to create an agent without having to know how to build or code agents itself. In fact, Ash will also show you something that will help you be able to build agent itself. Vendor agnostic. UiPath itself, you're able to bring your own model. As I mentioned earlier, you're also able to use other agents within the UiPath ecosystem, such as, for example, Crew AI and other things. You're also able to have end-to-end orchestration. And this is something that we will be talking about next week. It's about UiPath Maestro. And in terms of the platform differentiator itself, with UiPath, you have an enterprise grade infrastructure, right? You have specialized AI available. You have a scalable solution within the automation cloud itself. You have comprehensive monitoring and reporting. You're able to like usage as well in terms of analytics, audit logs, and so on. You're able to see that, have insights available for you, and of course governance and trust. So when we talk about AI, I think this is one of the first things that we would think of, like, are we able to trust our solution? Is the solution compliant against our standard policies? um, do you have an enterprise grade solution? Do you have something that will protect us from data issues in the future? So this is with UiPath, you actually have this all available. So, and I am going to show you that in the later part of the session. I think I've spoken a lot in this session. I think it's about time for me to hand over to Ash to actually give more information about agents and show you the capabilities of the agents itself. So Ash, I'm handing it over to you.
Thanks, Sean. I really liked like how it got this far this quickly. So okay, let me bring up my screen, and I just want to go back to this slide that Sean already covered. So what we will be at are mainly these four components. So these are the agent components: the prompt, context, tools, and escalation paths. We will talk about these and see some of them in action. I just wanted to have that slide open for reference. Let me close that. Now, so when we talk about agents or studio, so where are agents available? So you must know this interface. Whenever you access UiPath Studio Web, it used to just open up as a new project, and then this is the interface you would get. Now, recently, UiPath, for those who haven't seen it yet, UiPath have enhanced the Studio Web interface quite significantly. So now we are in an actual UiPath Cloud space. This is a community edition, which also means that you can go and try it out for yourselves. All of the features that you'll see here, they are already in community if you are using a community edition. So when you click on Studio, now you see this interface where you can not only create the typical or traditional RPA workflow that you were able to create previously, you can also create a few other things: agentic process, agent, and apps, and something called a solution. So what is a solution? It's a combination, or it's a solution. It's called enhanced development experience from UiPath, where you can add multiple components within one. So if, for example, you could put together an RPA workflow and an app within one solution and package them together so that it's easier to deploy, which kind of ties in with the automation ops, which is a different topic, but just referencing that here. So now, how do you build an agent? So we'll just straight up dive into the agent interface. So let's build a new agent. And before we get started with the agent, let's just familiarize ourselves with the interface. So you will find a lot of similarities on between this agent builder and how your traditional UiPath Studio experience has been, the Studio desktop, I mean. So you have the Explorer, which is similar to Project Explorer. You can see all of the components that you have here, and you can rename a solution. So if I wanted, I could call it Invoice Solution. Similarly, I can rename my agent, and we will get to that shortly. Other than that, there are things like input output arguments. So if you wanted, you could run this agent like an unattended agent, where you pass in the input and it will generate the output that you can potentially use in a subsequent agent or a subsequent workflow. We will also see that in this session and some of it in the next week session for Maestro. And then we'll come back to this. Down here, you have a few other things that are included within this solution. So you can see all the apps, all assets, all business rules, etc., referenced within this solution. On the right-hand side, you have got properties panel, which let's talk about this shortly. So first, what is this? So it says get started with autopilot. I can describe what my agent should do, but we can access this interface after we have closed this again from the main window. So I'm going to just close it to show you what the actual interface looks like. So it just created a very basic agent for me. You are an agentic assistant, and what is the current date? Why we have these two different prompts is because the system prompt is like the main set of instructions that we want to give the agent. So as Sean has already covered in great detail, agents are goals based, not task based. You are using the system prompt to define its purpose of existence. So you define an agent specific role, goals, rules, and operational constraints, etc. You can, when you open the interface, you can read all of the details. The user prompt is where it gets specific. So depending on the task you're giving it, if there is any specific input, for example, here is some of the text that I have extracted from web, say, and I want to transform it into something else. So it could be a lot of information and you wanted a summary of that in, say, pages, sorry, 10 lines, and you can actually pass that information down here, and then it will translate that into however short or long form you want it. That's just an example. So these are the two different prompts, because system prompt is like the overall umbrella goal, and user prompt is the specific data that you want to interact with it to do what you've defined in the system prompt. That's how these prompts are different to each other. General is the first component in that slide I showed earlier, which is the prompt. This is where you manage prompts. What are tools? So tools can be three different things. In tools, you can have an automation, which is your traditional RPA workflow, or it can be another agent that you want to use, and it could be activities. So there are some out of the box activities, i.e., integrations that are available for you to use. One of them is UiPath Gen AI activities. Now, there we should probably later maybe we could have a shorter session of just the Gen AI activities, because that's a topic in itself. But just to quickly cover what Gen AI activities do is this is an installable package that you can also use in your UiPath Studio project. Give you access to quite a few different activities out of the box that help you, or that let you perform Gen AI activities. So you won't need to say set up a lot of HTTP requests or API capabilities. They will provide you out of the box integration with a lot of LLMs of your choice. And that's what they do. So just to show you here what kind of activities we can use a web reader, which basically provides you research capabilities with the internet. So you can go to a website. So you can simply just give it a URL, say for example, through an input argument, and then say, whichever URL I provide to you through an argument, I want you to go and search the web for it, and any key information from that page, I would like you to summarize it. So it can also summarize that information for you. So these are out of the box activities that you won't need anything else to set up. You can just start using them. And by using them, I simply mean you just click on it, and now it is a capability. So if you wanted to look at it in a different way, what is the prompt? Prompt is the instruction. So when we join a job, we are told, or what is the job description. So when we apply for a job, we see the job description, and then we see whether we can work with that job description, and we apply and we start working. But what makes us successful in being able to do what the job requires is our skill set. That is on surface the differentiation between the prompts and the tools. What is the prompt? That's your job. That's the purpose why this agent has been created. But to fulfill what it has been created for, it will need certain tools and skill set and capabilities. Those are provided through tools, because without a tool, prompt based agent is basically nothing but just a text machine, which you can just go and open your favorite LLM and you can talk to it. To show you an example, here it says, you are an agentic assistant. What is the current date? I could potentially just run this in its very basic form, this agent as it is, and it will run on the orchestrator tenant, and it'll also give me an output of what is the current date. It says the current date is 6th August 2025. So essentially, we've already built an agent. But if I wanted to then go and say, go and find the weather in Melbourne today, and it probably won't be able to do that out of the box, because it needs tools like web search or some kind of weather service that it can be connected to. And moving forward, context. So what is context? That's basically more information or more specific information about the task or the goal that you're assigning your agent with. For example, if there was an agent about, and this is a cliche example, it's been used a lot, but I'm just going to use that. But you would have heard this example in case of chatbots where you are an employee trying to apply for leave, and whether the chatbot, or in this case the agent, is able to answer your question about how many leaves do you have left, or can you apply for a leave from this date to that date. It would need access to information such as how many leaves do you have left, and what are the public holidays that are approved by this organization where the agent is being deployed. And that is very specific. It's not public information, and it's not something that's available on the internet for every company in this world. So you would need something like leave policy and the public holidays leave calendar for this company. That specific information can be provided in the form of a file that you can host on a storage bucket, and it can be then deployed as context for this agent to use. So then you would basically specify that in your prompt to say, use this particular context file to decide whether this employee is eligible for this leave or not. And that's just an example of why context is essential. And then last part is escalations, where you can bring human in the loop component to your agent. The most common example that you can use here is basically you create an app that you've deployed. So if I say add escalation, it's just created one, and then say human review. If I wanted to call that step that, so it will ask me to select an app, and now I'll have to find or create an app on my apps portal or apps platform here within UiPath, and then select that app to create action task that the user can then go and perform for this agent to escalate. So those are the main four components. Now we left this part over here, which is more configuration or properties. Here you can see integration with quite a few different models from OpenAI and also Anthropic Claude. Now, as Sean will cover shortly after this session about governance, and I think you already covered this a little bit, but all of these agents are actually sitting inside your AI trust layer. So this is not a model that you're just openly communicating in the wild world. You're actually, this is all going through the UiPath AI trust layer. So all of the conversations that you have with this agent, they are still within the UiPath trust layer. Then you can control the temperature, which is if you worked with AI in any form, in terms of the API implementation, you probably know the temperature it's a value between 0 and 1. I believe that is what you'll see here. So you can control this throttle to say, do you want a precise output or creative output? In most cases in enterprise agents, because we rely on them consistently producing the same output or as close output as possible, there may be many examples where you'll see that setting it to precise is the best way to go, including the example that I'm about to show you. And then there is max tokens per response, so you can also limit its output if you want it. Agent score, currently it is calculating the agent score, but we haven't given it any context, so it's just giving me average score. But that depends on how you program your prompt, and then if you have any tools or input schema, if you create one, it will rate based on all of those, and that just show you how good this agent is. Output, and so yeah, we just saw that that's just the basic your log output thing, so nothing new there. Now let's come back to autopilot. So I closed this dialog earlier when it was prompting me as a pop-up, but you can access autopilot from here. Now let's actually build an agent. Now I would like to, in my invoice solution, I would like to create an agent that is able to deal with invoices. Now, before I go forward to the prompt, I just want to show you a very simple block diagram, and it's not even a proper diagram. I put it together in an Excel, but this is your traditional or typical invoice extraction workflow. What you have is a UiPath unattended robot, which is a dispatcher process. So it would basically receive an invoice, say in your email inbox, or it could be an invoice document picked up from a Salesforce case. And the dispatcher will do nothing but try to just say, use intelligent OCR activities such as digitize document, extract the document text, and then try to classify based on the keywords it extracted. Based on that classification, it then may invoke a more advanced dispatcher or performer of sorts, which will be an OCR solution, such as a UiPath document understanding framework project. Then, if needed, it will go to a human user for verification. So that's your traditional human in the loop OCR component. And then based on the extraction quality, you can then run some business rules if relevant on that. For example, data cleansing on whatever invoice information was extracted. And then once the info has been all cleaned, then it can be entered by another unattended performer process into the CRM. Some examples might see these two fused into one, depending on how complex the business rules are. If it's simple enough, you can simply have one process. But that is not the point. The point I'm trying to make is this block here. So you've got a dispatcher, and then an extractor, and then a performer. An agent could simplify this workflow significantly if we created something like an invoice extractor agent where I can simply just pass along the document text, or even in some cases document itself, and gave it instructions to extract that. So let's try to do that. Now, I could write a really detailed prompt, and then I'll use that prompt to basically, run my agent. But what is autopilot? The autopilot here is it's here to help us even make that process simpler. So let me try doing that here. Now, what it does is it'll not only try to understand my process and just tell me in text format what I should be doing, but it'll actually give me quite a lot of other extra helpful information as well. And it'll give them in the form of these suggestions. So let's just go through one by one. So this is just its basic response, initial response. I can help you. Great. Let's look at the prompt. So it's saying your system prompt should be define the agent specific role as an invoice information extractor. What should I put? Now, it's not only given me a text that I would have to copy and paste, it's basically literally given me all of the things ready to go. I can read through these and I say invoice number, invoice date, line items, very good. If I wanted, I could add other things like total cost and GST, depending on what the requirements are. So I've given it all of the items that I wanted, and I can just say, yeah, that looks good, accept suggestion. Now it's populated it for me. So that saves me the trouble to even copy paste. And I know copy pasting is not too much of a big deal. I could do some of this by using a separate tab of, say, ChatGPT or any other agent that I prefer. But isn't that essentially what I'm doing here? So I'm already just doing that. I am using OpenAI, but only it's saving all the hassle of maintaining those two conversations in two different places. I can similarly quickly review these, and it's giving me the what are the line items component that it'll extract: item description, quantity, unit price, and total. So that's just a sample. I'm going to say accept suggestions. Now, what it needs is invoice text from me. So what you see in red is how I said before, the user prompt is define your task and provide necessary details for the agent to accomplish your goal. So what is the purpose? That's here. The purpose is to extract all of the relevant invoice information from an invoice text. And where is the invoice text provided? It's provided right here. I can create that as an input argument, but let's just quickly review suggestions. So here it says to make this agent functional, we need to update the input and output schemas. Review suggestions. So it's created this invoice text input argument for me, which means I'm supposed to give it this. It was red because I hadn't created it yet. Now, as soon as I've created it using autopilot's features, it's now green, which means I have the variable that it needs. And output. So it'll give me invoice number, invoice date, which are both string, as you can see the T here. And then this is an array. What is it? An array of all of these things. So it's got description, quantity, unit price, and total price. So all of these information, all of the arguments have been created without me having to do anything. I'm going to accept suggestions. Looks good. it's going to tell me about other things. So what are the tools I should provide it? I should provide PDF text extraction, OCR, and date format standardization, currency conversions, etc. So depending on how complex my business case gets eventually, I may need one or more of these tools in my tools box, basically. That's what it's telling me. And that's a future enhancement. It says, consider creating tools for these. And then context search. So I can go through, read any of these. There may be some valuable suggestions from these. As necessary, I can add those three components in my agent. But for now, I think our agent is ready to just test in this format. Now, before testing, I will need to provide the invoice text. So what I'm going to do to save me some time is I went and asked ChatGPT to create a basic prompt, or sorry, dummy invoice text. Okay. I'm just going to quickly show you my conversation with ChatGPT. I just said, can you give me dummy text of an invoice processing agent? And gave me just very plain text, something that your intelligent OCR activities could extract from a decent PDF. I'm just copying that, and I'm going to put that as my invoice text when I run it. So test on cloud, it's asking me for the text. I just put the whole thing in there and then say save and test. So now it's going to take that text in. That's the invoice text input, and output has just been populated. So it took the agent how long? 6 seconds total, and it's extracted that invoice number.
Crash. I'm not sure if I'm seeing that screen correctly.
Which part?
Yeah, I mean the screen that you're showing about it being extracted already. I'm not sure if I'm seeing that screen correctly. I'm still seeing the screen where you're. So I'm not sure if you're sharing the same screen or a different screen.
No, sorry.
I'm
So
still seeing
I'll
system.
highlight that, so maybe it'll help. So this is the output. So that's the input that I provided it when I ran. So what we're essentially looking at just the execution trace. On my screen, you see the highlighted text as output.
We're still in the page where you're building the agent.
Yes, I am in that page, but maybe is the screen not completely shared? So on the very on this agent builder screen towards the right, do you see agent run dash agent?
Oh, we're seeing autopilot. We're seeing autopilot as
Let me.
on the right side of the screen.
Okay, I'm going to stop share, bring it back up again quickly.
Thank you. There you go.
Are you able to see that now?
We're able to see this now.
Okay, so let's quickly do that one more time. I don't know how much you saw previously. This is that I'm looking at the test configuration screen. So correct me if we're not.
Yeah, we're seeing that one.
Okay, cool. So I just copy pasted the whole text that ChatGPT generated as a dummy text for me. I'm just gonna. So what you're seeing now is the actual agent run where I've given all the prompts, and then I've given input as the invoice text. And within 5.3 seconds, it extracted the invoice number, the invoice date, and the 3 line items that were in the text. Now,
That's right.
Again, just to make sure that we have that to compare, this was the invoice text that I had provided. So it had 3 line items, 12th of July, and the 04231, that was the invoice number. So all of those things have been correctly captured. Now, because it was all plain text, it was already simple enough. But the idea is that even if we set up a more complex agent where we can actually use the entire PDF. So as you would have seen with any LLM that you work with, you can give it a lot of text and ask question, or you can upload a PDF and ask question. Those are two separate features. Similarly, we could also build that capability where we just pass the whole document to it instead of just the extracted invoice text. This is actually adding one extra step because I need to somehow invoke this agent and pass it the text. If we had more time, we would probably build an agent that can just take the document itself from, let's say, a predefined Google Drive or OneDrive storage, something like that. But the idea is that this agent basically just saved me 1, 2, and 3 steps, because now I can even have some business rule engines built on top of, or just within this agent, give it some tool capability, and that have that run the business rules as well. So then all I need to do is then just get all this cleansed data within this agent and then pass it along to the last data entry performer so that it can go and say, enter all that information into SAP or Salesforce or whatever that may be, as an example. So that was a sample execution of an agent. Once I'm done, I can publish it. And when I publish, it can be published to the tenant. I'm going to say E1.0.0, publish it. Now let's go to Orchestrator. So this is the other beautiful part. Everything that you build in UiPath Studio, whether it's an agentic process or an app or your typical RPA workflow, all of those things get published to Orchestrator, and that just makes everything so easy to manage and deploy. You will see some of the interface options have changed. UiPath also have recently moved stuff from under packages tab. So previously, if you build it was called an early adopter agent. If you build one of those agents would get published here. As you can see, this was published there. But if you create an entire solution, the solution goes under the solutions tab, because then you get this whole other interface like packages, deployments, and projects. So you can deploy a package, which then becomes a deployment. And then that deployment can be basically published as a solution folder in itself. And this is part of the automation ops feature that I previously mentioned. We won't go into much into that, but to show you that invoice solution was deployed here. Now, if I wanted, I can, it was published here. Now I can deploy it. So let's say I want to give this invoice solution a different name, my invoice solution. Let's call it that. And then I want to publish it under the finance folder, and the solution root folder will also be that. I'm just going to call this deployment. That's just a deployment name, which will show under this. But the actual folder that I want to see here is my invoice solution. So now it takes you to that automation ops solutions management solutions installer screen, where you can see what are the dependencies included within this. Now, when we built this solution, we only had one agent here. There is nothing else that is being used. We only have one agent. If I had added more tools or another agent to that, they would also show under there. If I had any storage buckets that contain any context files, that will also show up under there. And all of those dependencies can be reviewed here. And then at the end, I can say validate. If it says everything looks good, yeah, no errors have been found. Now, when would you see any errors? For example, if you had any assets and typically credentials. So if you did not set a credential, because credentials are not automatically copied by deployments. So you would need to specify, say, if you're deploying to production, specify the password for a production environment, any relevant password, for example, your robot credentials, or it could be your Salesforce API key, etc. So those change according to environments. So you could, for argument's sake, use the same deployment and deploy it to a dev tenant, UIT tenant, and production tenant, but you just need to specify, make sure that all the assets have been accordingly configured. And that's an example of why the validate feature is necessary and important to use. And then I've deployed it. When I deploy, what do I see under Orchestrator is a new folder has been created, my invoice solution. Now, what was inside the solution? An agent. So that agent has also been deployed. Now, because I did not rename my agent, I kept it like that. It's been deployed as agent. But if I really wanted, I could go and edit its display name, just as an example. So now this agent can be run within an orchestrator setting. So I don't really always need to run it from this interface, because this is sort of like running it from Studio. But if you wanted to run it in a governed environment, you would use the direct run, or you can also connect triggers to it. So you can create triggers for time-based triggers or queue-based triggers. So it basically just becomes another process for you to manage, and you'll see the type. So there are several types now. There's also agentic processes and your typical RPA workflow. I will quickly come back to the tools. So how to use RPA workflows. And this is just a note that I want to add just as my opinion here. The tools that you use, I'm sorry, I just noticed that we are slightly over time, so I'll just finish here. But when you're using tools, please ensure that you're not calling something like an RE framework based project, because that basically gives the control completely away to your RE framework project. The way I like to see it is when you call an RPA workflow from agent, it's sort of like you're calling a library from within your UiPath Studio project, because you're giving a very specific task to your tool, which is another RPA workflow. So just do this one thing and bring the result back to me, instead of saying just take away and process all the transactions, because typically your agent will also be part of a bigger transaction, not just something that you're running in one go and then having an RE framework project getting invoked, for example.
All right. So Ash mentioned about AI trust layer earlier, and I wanted to actually talk about the governance securities in place. So what does the AI trust layer do? So AI trust layer allows you to actually discover or to directly oversee and govern the UiPath AI features. And this is across the UiPath products itself. The key purpose is for you to have an administrative panel for generative AI, for third-party AI models, to have a comprehensive management platform, to have strict control capabilities, including auditing, usage panels, and be able to ensure that your data remains confidential and secure. So UiPath AI Trust Layer, this is available via the UiPath Automation Cloud. So when you log into Automation Cloud, you go to admin, you'll be able to see the AI Trust Layer. This is where you can make policy management configurations available for you. Another one last thing I wanted to point out, I wanted to just show you quickly the documentation that UiPath has with regard to agents. Here, you're able to see the governance, data residency, and limitations. Whenever you're running agents, you need to enable them via AI Trust Layer first. So you need to create a policy there. So things that you would, and in the interest of time, I'm just going to show you the documentation. This is where you will be having this set up. You also have data residency and supported models available. So overall, when we talk about Automation Cloud, we have different regions. This is where you set up the tenant regions itself. There's a specific tenant region in Australia and Singapore, UK, India, and so on. So different regions typically would be where your data would be residing. However, some regions who don't have their specific tenant region, that data will actually flow through. Then take note of that, flow through and not stored, right? So to just flow through that, the closest region for AI processing. And this is the models that are available as well. And lastly, the limitations. So these are some of the things that I want to leave you with. Before we end the session, I just wanted to mention that we have another event coming up next week. It's about Maestro. Ash will be one of the speakers in that event as well. So this would be somehow a continuation of this session. So if we can request you to register for that event, that would really be appreciated. From my side, I wanted to thank you, Ash, for that very insightful demo. It's really, really um, um, amazing how you actually run us through the agent itself, properties of the agent, and what you can do about it, as well as the actual demo on the invoice processing and how you publish that. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure you've all of the participants, including me, have learned a lot from you today.
Thank you, Sean. That was really kind.
Thank you for watching the session. If you have any feedback to share, I'll leave a link in the description where you can record your feedback and let me know how you felt about this session. If you found anything useful, then you can also leave a testimonial using the same link that will be in the description. And once the Maestro webinar is complete, that link will be available right here.